Hello, and welcome to Andrew Broussard Watercolors. Today we're going to explore a few different things, so I'll jump right into talking about it. In front of me I have a 5x7 pad of hot press by New York Central. I got that off of Jerry's Artorama. I think they also have it on Amazon. I taped it so it's approximately 3x7. I really am enjoying this format lately, especially with the smaller paintings. And I just sprayed it with a mix of powdered gum arabic and water in an atomizer. And I dried it off with the blow dryer. My idea there is that we'll have a layer of that binder, of that glue, down on the paper already, and it'd be more likely to sit on top of it. I believe I had read that somewhere that somebody was doing that, and I think that's something back from the golden age of watercolors. In fact, I was flipping through a David Dunlap video trying to find something about that, and people in the comments had said that he had double primed his watercolor paper or his rag with acrylic varnish, and had put that down there and painted on top of that so it didn't soak in and it could move around easier. So I think there's a lot of things that could be explored in that realm, but this is where I'm at with that. Yesterday was the first day I tried on top of the gum arabic, and I got a really nice gradiated sky, so we'll see what happens today. Now, the color names I might not know completely, mainly due to the fact that I have a big 54 pan on the side that I'm pulling from and exploring and seeing what I'm going for. This is Winsor Newton's transparent orange. I'm just going to get that on there. I think I'm going to bring my horizon a lot higher up. This is going to go for one of those traditional Tonalist landscapes, but I want a bigger tree in it. And I'm not the best at the gradiated washes, and I'm sure anybody that does gradiated washes a lot will note that. However, they have been working very well for me. This is Prussian Blue, Winsor Newton. I've started to change my less used colors into more professional brand colors. I think I'll bring this down here just in case I put some water in, just to kind of prepare that. And I want a little bit more purple in that sky. So let's see. This is Daniel Smith's Permanent Alizarin Crimson. Might go with a little bit of ultramarine as well. I'm trying not to get a smooth, like a perfect gradient from left to right. I want to have variety. So we have that and we have this going on. Bring some of that down below as preparation, just in case. And what else did I want to grab? Let's grab a little bit of ultramarine on top of that. My ultramarine is Da Vinci brand, which if you watch this channel a lot, you know that I have a lot of Da Vinci brands. I'm curious how the Daniel Smith one would be compared to Da Vinci brand. I wouldn't be surprised if Jane Blundell has some of those comparisons on her website. But I had just purchased that Permanent Alizarin Crimson and Perylene Green, so a little tapped out on art supplies at the moment. Oh, by the way, so that leads into perfect. If you want to follow along, you're more than welcome to. You always have my express permission to sign your own name and sell anything you do whenever you follow along. I want you guys to have fun and have money for art supplies. And that being said, if you want to support this channel, I have the Patreon down below, where you can donate through that, and I have exclusive content there. So that money goes back into art supplies. So if you enjoy this, that'd be very helpful. So this is a little bit of that ultramarine. Got some of that kind of classic sunset purple. Now I'm starting to move stuff around to a detrimental effect, so I'm going to stop. That's very similar to the colors that I would see in Copley Fielding 1830s watercolor. All right, so I can either feed in my horizon line now, and let's just go ahead and do that. With these videos and this size, I can film playing around with different moisture levels on the paper, if you'd like. I haven't really been able to film too much lately, mainly because the neighbor right back there moved back in. I don't know why they moved out, but they moved back in. And they have, and we're in a suburb, they have a dirt bike and some sort of four-wheeler that they're riding in their yard like 8 hours a day. So yesterday I had to film a time lapse just because you wouldn't be able to hear me over that. Okay, so palette wise, I've been playing around a lot with Van Dyke Brown, and this is from Daniel Smith. That Van Dyke Brown really has just a great dark, a great usage. I have noticed that with different brands, the Van Dyke Browns really do change around a lot. From what I recall, other brands will be a black and a brown. I think that this is all just brown earth pigments. And it's kind of just darker and less burnt umbery. I guess that'd be the best way to say it, than other brands. I do find myself feeding pigment in this fashion, pulling from pans, even though I refilled some of these last night with the ones that I knew I was definitely using, so they're still a little wet. I do feel I'm not getting the intensity that I immediately want, but I do feel that I'm also painting in an approach that is more prone to layering regardless. Okay. So we'll put that there. Looking at John Francis Murphy, J.F. Murphy, from the 1800s. He was the second half of the 1800s, tonalist. Looking at his, and then looking at Dennis Sheehan, a contemporary tonalist, a modern one, still alive. I've noticed a similarity in some of these backgrounds and midgrounds. It's something that I've been working on adopting, where we have that background tree line, or just a background dark strip almost, then a layer catching the sun, and then a closer layer of tree line. So I've been pulling that in. This is Naples Yellow, which I immediately added to the palette whenever I was really starting to explore these late 1800s, so the earlier half, when I started looking at that, which I believe that during that time period it was lead tin yellow, which then was taken over by the Naples Yellow, which was then taken over by just yellow ochre or chrome yellow. Ooh, that gives us a really possible water area right here. So this brush that I'm using is a really cheap Temu brush. I think it was like $3. Seami Art, S-E-A-M-I Art. It is kind of a little frazzled right around those edges here, but it does have a relatively sharp point. So I've been enjoying it. I have a second one, and it might be something I'd buy more of unless a art company out there is listening and would like to send some. All right. Then I'm gonna grab some more Van Dyke brown, just a convenience black or dark. With the two gentlemen that I mentioned, there's often a dark shadow layer or almost essentially a ridge that seems to appear at the base of the next layer of trees that are closer to us. And that seems to be really helpful in grounding those trees. Another layer that's essentially creating a sense of depth, etc. I think that would be okay if we started putting in trees now. So it is wet and wet. How I want to model these trees is something that I've been experimenting with. And there's different, essentially kind of like a silhouette of trees that you can start utilizing. You don't even really have to name what type of trees you're doing, just getting that idea out there. Let's just prepare ourselves for a little reflection. Using the tip of that brush to darken that edge. We're a little too dry right here. There we go, just bringing a little bit of those shadows and reflections down. Okay, so yesterday I had Perylene Green come in by Daniel Smith. I think the Perylene pigment is the same with all brands. It's like PBK 33, so it's a black pigment, but it's just kind of a dark green. Some brands had theirs LightFast listed as 2, which would be probably like good, not excellent. This is a step below that. But Daniel Smith has theirs labeled excellent, but it's the same pigment, and I'm really not sure what's up with that. But that being said, it's not as fugitive as the original Alizarin Crimson, which is like a category 4. But with the pans, I've been finding myself reaching for some sort of dark green, and I just didn't have one. And I find with the pans in general, it's a little bit more difficult for me to mix. So I have to mix onto the painting right off the bat. So I grabbed it as a convenience. I think if we were painting very large and using the Hake brush, it would just be a black and a yellow that the green would come from. Put a little bit on this grassy area. I have been working with just taking the back of the handle and pulling a little bit of lines down for the idea of tree trunks and branches, as well as hopefully catching some pigment to make that trunk itself. Let's have a go at it right here, just to show you what I mean. More pigment down. It's not really catching just yet, so that's another thing I've been experimenting with, especially on this size. Now, I've been taking the Van Dyke Brown, or raw umber, or burnt umber, sorry, getting it on the brush in such a fashion where I don't really have too much water on it, and attempting to kind of dry brush with the side of it. And we are going wet and wet, so I probably should have done a little bit of a dry off, but hopefully I can convey what I've been exploring. Where I get these marks down, And then if I glaze over it, it then gives me my next color, but gives me that variation in texture. So I'm kind of looking at it from the sense of putting down an underpainting, like an oil painting, and then glazing for color and warmth and variability. Here's the burnt umber. This one is Daniel Smith. I think pretty much all of my earth pigments are Daniel Smith now, so that they're all created in such a way by one company that has looked at their colors and matched them in such a way that they're all combined in a good sense. I know I'm not expressing it correctly, but that was a tip that I had saw on handprint.com years ago. If you stay within one earth pigment within a particular brand, they're all going to be formulated in relationship to one another. This is a lunar black. Which I'll have to look. I'm not sure if lunar black is granulating or if it's lunar because kind of like a Mars color. The Mars colors, I believe, are all synthetic earth colors. So I don't know if it's just a play on the name of a lunar and Mars, or if there's some other effect to it. And I'll look that up. One thing I've been struggling with the smaller ones is just kind of getting the grass in that's growing along water lines. Also, the back of the brush is a great way to move these solid masses down and create more variation. I honestly feel like the more variation, the more tied together everything seems. I'm going to pause the camera. I'm going to hit it with the blow dryer for a dry off. I genuinely feel like the tonal shift isn't as much. I'm not sure if it is the coat of gum arabic that I'm using. All right, I'm gonna darken up the shadow sides of these trees, but it might be beneficial first to do a glaze. Let's glaze. What color is this? This is I have a list of colors for some of them. An olive green. And that might be Van Gogh brand. So hopefully you can get the idea of that underpainting and now kind of glazing over it. I have a Winsor Newton green that's very similar to that on here, green gold, and yeah, okay. I'm gonna look and see if I can layer in a little bit more of my Naples yellow. Now this would be a great area to experiment with white gouache. On some of them, I am going back and coating this area with white gouache or mixing my pigment with it and looking to see the intensity that I can get from that. Some other things that I've been playing with is a concept that I picked up from, oh wow, this pigment is just so strong. This is the permanent alizarin crimson from Daniel Smith. From Eric Kopel, where in Tree Shadows he had talked about adding in reds for the darks, that you can find reds in there. I guess it's just the concept of using what's the term? Complementary colors within the object and using that complementary color for the shadow. But that pigment or that brand is definitely intimidating with how strong it is. It's almost one of the reasons I had avoided buying any sort of alizarin crimson from a professional brand, was because of how pigmented it would be. But it is great. So hopefully it shows on the camera that little change. And I could always grab some of that perlin green, just put that on top as well. Just working on those two just to build up that dark. And now it's just a matter of kind of loosely interpreting the trees, but getting them to be realistic. And here again, I'm just pulling down some of that pigment to create some easy tree trunks. Just little movements. I'm not pressing hard. I don't want to damage the paper in the sense of scraping with a card. I'm just pushing pigment around. I think we might benefit from another dry off. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll show you this other brush I've been playing with. This is 18/0, a round, small round. I usually use riggers for smaller work. However, I get a lot more control with this, especially just kind of being a little shaky. It's hard to do that. So let's grab Naples yellow on that. We'll put in so this is just pure straight from the tube essentially. I put it in yesterday, so it hasn't dried yet. Okay. Let's clean this brush off. We'll try two different glazes here on the grass. This is where my color theory is like faltering extremely. This is Quin Gold, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment. Looking at those two masters and other masters from the 1800s watercolor, like Hines, I noticed in their landscape that there was a transition from either a yellow to a green or a yellow to a red or a green to a red that was taking place. And they seem to go against kind of aerial perspective. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what's going on and why. So I would think that yellow would be the closest, then you would go to a green, or maybe vice versa, I'm not really sure. So that's something that I need to really figure out and learn about. Or maybe it's just the kind of fitting the mood, whatever transition you want. We have an area of resist right here. I'm not sure what that is, but it might be beneficial to maybe put something right there. I don't even know if there's anything for me to really pick up. Or let's see if I can just go into that. There we go. Okay, looking for the shadows in here. I'll grab some ultramarine blue. little bit too much. All right, so I'm not too keen on this tree shapes. That's something, like I said, I'm working on there. But I'm gonna let's grab some gamboge. And this is Daniel Smith. And we'll put around the outside here, see what type of glow we can get around our trees. There we go. The tops are catching light. You could even put a wash of that for a little bit more variation. I'm not going to do it completely. I'm gonna look a little bit more for darkest dark, so I'm just gonna grab some of that lunar black and change some of the tonal varieties here, just make it a little bit darker. Use your finger or whatever to smear it. So this guy's pretty much for controlled marks. Let's bring that down. I did play with a little bit of hatching with this brush and with other brushes, just kind of building up the shadow in that fashion, and that seemed to read pretty well. The smaller paintings will read well from a distance. Up close, I'm not sure. I would think that I'm about 1.5 feet away from it right now, and y'all are about maybe 2 feet away. Taking this guy, and even the #1 rigger was good for this, where just grab a little pigment on it, either the black or Van Dyke brown, and that was good to put these kind of miscellaneous marks that just for some reason just read really, really well. I was surprised when I watched Eric Kopel how much just miscellaneous marks and textures were used to create a sense of depth and a sense of surface and land. So this is just very spontaneous. If you do this, be aware sometimes water and pigment stores right at the base of brushes, so you can always pull that out here. Meaning if I was doing this and I went down, I might get a little bit too much. All right, let's do a dry off, see where we're at. All right, so we're at the 30-minute mark, so I'll pull off the tape so you can see what it looks like, and then I'll sign it off camera. And when you pull off tape, pull it away from the picture itself, because then if it tears away from it. It doesn't tear onto the picture. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, follow, and please consider supporting this channel through Patreon. You'll have a great day, and take care.